Day 5 of training camp for the San Francisco 49ers just wrapped up. And while many people are focusing on the quarterback battle, I've already made a video breaking down that competition today. So in this video, I do want to take a step back and look at the other position groups and people that really impressed me today. Starting out today, I want to highlight a player that I've really spoken about a lot this offseason, and that's Danny Gray. I expected him to take a leap from year 1 to year 2, just really developing into a pro, and today he did make nice steps in that direction, catching both of the balls that were targeted at him. Another wide receiver that's impressed, and this guy's a rookie, is wide receiver Ronnie Bell. Throughout training camp, he hasn't really been too active up to this point, but today he was targeted 3 times and caught all the passes that came his direction. Okay, now let's talk about the Niners' other wide receivers that we've grown more accustomed to. Deebo Samuel looked great today. He looked explosive, even took a couple of runs out of the backfield and thumped into the defense each time, it seemed like. He also had a nice conversion on 3rd down from Purdy. Another player that's continued to impress throughout this training camp, and no, today wasn't different, was Brandon Ayuk. He went off again today, targeted twice, and one of the best plays from today is when he beat Deommodore Lenoir deep and then had a PI when Brock Purdy threw it to him 45 yards down the field. Another player that performed extremely well today in the wide receiver position group was Ray McCloud. He caught all of the passes thrown his direction, and he also had a pair of 3rd down conversions. With the wide receiver position group out of the way and players that really stood out there, we need to step back into the backfield and see who really made the name for themselves today there. And it was Christian McCaffrey. He had explosive runs, but maybe the most impressive part of his day is when Purdy stepped up in the collapsing pocket and found Christian McCaffrey deep on the left sideline, 30 yards down the field in coverage with Fred Warner. It would have ultimately been like a 75 yard touchdown. It was a great pass by Purdy, but even more so, maybe a better route by Christian McCaffrey. The other running back that performed extremely well today was Jordan Mason. When the pads come on, it's his time to shine. For instance, he's made a couple of loud pops throughout training camp, and today he had a nice run of 15 yards. Another player in the backfield that did well was Jack Coletto today, having nice blocks for Jordan Mason on that 15-yard run, but also caught the lone pass from Brandon Allen that he completed. And if Kyle Shanahan is able to keep Jack Coletto on the roster, I want one thing and one thing only: fullback touchdown passes. We know you can do it, Kyle, and Jack Coletto is a nice depth piece for every single position on your team. So please, just draw up a couple fullback passes for me, Kyle. Thanks. Okay, now it's time to step into the offensive line and players that did well, but also players that struggled. Jalen Moore has surprisingly done extremely well at the left tackle spot in place of Trent Williams. Today, he held up great in team drills as well as one-on-ones, but Colton McKivitz did get beat today for a would-be sack by Drake Jackson, which actually incidentally brings me to some of the good players specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Drake Jackson has continued to impress, whether it be him covering people down the field or just lining up and blitzing the quarterback. Today, he beat Colton McKivitz, like I mentioned, for a sack on 11-on-11 drills. But that's not the only defensive lineman that's really stood out throughout this camp. Another player that's continued to make a name for himself is Javon Kinlaw. On one pass play, he ran through Nick Zakelj and got the quarterback to have a quick check down. He also shows up very well in run defense throughout this camp, moving around well when the play is coming towards him, but also chasing down the play. Kinlaw hasn't moved this well throughout his career with the Niners, and everyone's saying he's in the best shape of his life. I really hope this is the case, but I'm not getting too excited for Kinlaw. Another player that maybe is getting overlooked on the Niners defensive line is Alex Barrett. Barrett was fantastic today. He was good at setting the edge in the run game, but also pressured the quarterback consistently. So all those are some of the defensive linemen that stood out. Let's move into the linebacking core to the linebackers that stood out. Starting with Marcelino McCrary-Ball. McCrary Ball is in competition for that third linebacking role for the Niners. Right now, they have Oren Burks there primarily, but Ball is doing great things and has put on serious mass from his rookie year. Today, he sacked Sam Darnold, but he also had a nice pop on Jordan Mason when he was coming up the middle. So for me, it wouldn't be a surprise if Marcelino McCrary Ball could actually be the Niners' third string linebacker this year. Moving on to another linebacker that impressed today though was Dre Greenlaw. He had nice coverage and even picked off Brock Purdy. Another highlight of the day, I suppose, was when Dre Greenlaw, Brandon Ayuk, and Jawan Jennings really started that huge fight. I mean, to be fair, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner were really aggressive with the backs today and really hitting everyone. Even Brock Purdy was hit today in the arm to end the practice, and it was very reminiscent of that NFC Championship game. So it was an aggressive practice, which you expect, but they do need to clean things up. It's unacceptable to be hitting a quarterback in the practice. Moving on to some more positives though on the defensive side. Cornerback Samuel Womack once again looks solid in coverage. Lenore, on the other hand, might have struggled a little bit today, even being beat deep on a PI call to Brandon Ayuk. Moving on to the special team side of the ball, we saw Jake Moody be great again today. He hit kicks from 38, 48, and 55. Zane Gonzalez, the other kicker the Niners had, also hit from 38, 48, and 57. So with these highlights out of the way, now I want to hear who impressed you the most, whether it be on the offense, defense, or even special team side of the ball. What players stood out for you today in training camp? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.